So why Maharashtra is present so much crisis as far as COVID is concerned?
So I think first of all the population of Maharashtra is very large. That's why the cases have increased.
What is the population of Uttar Pradesh?
So it's definitely more than Maharashtra, sir. I don't know the figure, but it's more than Maharashtra.
Then why it's not in Uttar Pradesh? If your logic goes, then it must be Uttar Pradesh.
So there are 2-3 reasons to it. First of all, sir, there was general laxity after the first wave. The second was the Panchayat poll campaigning, which happened in Maharashtra. So there also nobody followed the COVID appropriate behavior. Third thing would be the over optimism that we see because of the vaccine drive which is going on. So it's basically because of all these things that we have cases in Maharashtra and not in Uttar Pradesh. And if you see, sir, per 10 lakh cases, then I think Maharashtra stands 6th in the country. So I think, sir, that is
AIMS people says that the crowd may be the real reason in Maharashtra. It's so much crowd and various places, not just population, but the way you handle your administrative ability in that sense also matters. What is your stake?
I think, sir, population density in Maharashtra is definitely high as compared to other places. And we have Mumbai, which has the maximum amount of population density. The administration is obviously bogged down because of the population density and people not following the rules. So it's both the people as well as the administration's responsibility to look after the situation. Like the administration also should be strict when it comes to implementation of the COVID appropriate behavior, as well as the population has to take responsibility, and individual responsibility has to be taken so that everybody follows the rules and cooperates with the administration. So,
as a resident of Mumbai, what are your experiences? Do you really think that people are genuine but your state capacity is less, or societal response is slow a little bit? Some pockets, for example, Dharavi, laterally behave and get control. So ultimately, what is solution? State is a solution or society is a solution?
So I think both state and society have to take responsibility. It's not one of the two. Both the people of the society have to take an individual responsibility that we have to behave in a particular manner. And if government gives some guidelines, we have to follow those guidelines. And the state also has to be strict towards the people. So, sir, in Mumbai, I have seen that people do follow rules, but the population density is so much that you cannot really control the situation. Also, the administration is under stress because there are the beds availability is less, and the local trains have been started recently. So that is also one of the reasons why the
you live in which area? You are resident?
Sir, I live in Haji Ali, Mumbai.
Haji Ali.
Yes, sir.
And what is the comparative density? Is it as dense as, say, Dharavi?
No,
density
sir.
of that
No,
region?
Sir. I don't think so. It's as dense as Dharavi, sir.
And how this name really arrived? What is the story behind Haji Ali?
So, sir, Haji Ali is derived from the Haji Ali Dargah, which is in the area. So, Haji Ali Dargah gives the area the name Haji Ali. So, sir, Haji Ali Dargah has gotten its name from Turabul Shah Bukhari. Sorry, sir. Shah Bukhari, Haji Ali Shah Bukhari, Pir Haji Ali Shah Bukhari had come to India from Uzbekistan. He gave up all his possessions.
Came to India from which place?
Uzbekistan, sir.
Uzbekistan.
Yes, sir. So he gave up all his possessions before going to Mecca, and that's why his followers gave him tribute by building the Dargah, sir.
Don't you feel that this is against our secular fabric, that people are now sponsoring, so say Hajj pilgrimage, or so certain type of pilgrimage? Is it against our secular thread of our nation?
No, sir. Under our constitution, we have a provision that we cannot be biased towards one particular religion, but we can support all the religions in equal capacity. So I think that principle is followed, and that's why I think it's okay if you support if we sponsor the Hajj pilgrimage or any other pilgrimage, sir.
What do you know about this? There are various Sufi sects. Chishti is one of dominant them. What do you know about Chistis or per se Sufis?
So there are 4 prominent sects of Sufi, which is Chisti, there is Naqshbandi, and there is Suravardi, and so the 4th one I cannot recollect, but
How
Qadri.
Suravardis are different from Chistis?
So I'm not aware, I'll have to read about it. So
Generally, these followers of the Hajj Ali, so many people visits.
yes, sir.
Are they just Muslims or all types of people are there?
No, sir, all types of people from all the religions visit Hajj Ali, sir.
Why this happened and how this happened?
Sorry, sir, I'm not aware. But the place is open for everyone, so I think people do visit Hajj Ali. It has some prominent, like worshippers think that if they go to Hajj Ali and worship there, their prayers will be answered. That is one belief, and that's why I think all the sects visit Hajj Ali Dargah, sir.
Recently, this worship act, something related to worship act was in news. What was that act or what is that act and why was it in news?
So as far as I've read, I think it's about the Ayodhya issue, that the worship, the places of worship should be kept the way they are, and no claims should be newly like addressed towards the worship places to change them from a Muslim worship place to a Hindu worship place, or a Hindu worship place to a Muslim worship place. So I think that is what the act
And what is the
related
recent
to.
this Gyan-Vyapi mosque issue?
So I have not read much about it, but I'll definitely read about it. So sorry, sir.
Which is the river that ultimately Ayodhya, this is based on, or that is bank, this is river and this is city called as Ayodhya. Which is that famous river? Ayodhya is located on which river?
Sorry, sir, I cannot recollect right now.
Which are famous rivers from your own region, Mumbai?
So Meethi River is one of the famous rivers. Then there is Oshiwara, there is Poisar River, and so Vatsa, Vaitarna are the rivers in the Palghar district. So, yes.
Do you think that this connection of rivers
Yes, sir.
really is going to help us? This linking river project is really a benefit, is a beneficial idea for us as a nation, or it will benefit some part of the region, some parts. For example, say Ken Betwa may be the benefit for certain region and it may create certain problem to other regions. What is your take on this linking of various rivers?
Yes, sir. So linking of rivers has been a debatable issue since a very long time, sir, and the implementation has also been slow. But I think it will definitely help us. But that is not the only thing that we should rely on. We should do other things also, like water conservation and water management techniques need to be put in place. Interlinking of rivers will definitely help subside the floods in Assam and bring that water to the southern states where there is water scarcity, and it will also help the Bihar floods, which is also a problem. But definitely, sir, there are other things also which need to be put in place, and not just the interlinking of rivers.
What is Article 254 of the Indian Constitution?
So it's related to center-state relations, but I am not able to recollect right now, sir.
Have you heard this term called as a doctrine of repugnancy?
No, sir. Sorry, sir.
Have you heard the term called as a pith and substance? Principle of pith and substance?
Yes, sir, I've heard, but I cannot recollect right now.
Colorable legislation.
Yes, sir. I've heard the doctrines, but I cannot define them as well.
Which is your optional subject in civil service?
So, public administration.
Public administration. And who is your favorite thinker in public administration?
So, I think Herbert Simon is one of my favorite thinkers, because he was the one who gave a complete theory. He went on to win a Nobel Prize in 1978 for his work on decision-making theory. So first came Frederick Taylor, who gave an economic point of view of the management. Like he gave the scientific management theory, which just looked at the economy and the efficiency of the organizations. Then came the humanistic model, which was given by Elton Mayo. But sir, when we look at Herbert Simon, he combined both these models, and he paid attention to the scientific management model as well, wherein the economy and efficiency of the administration was also taken care of. Also, he paid attention to the humanistic part of the organization, supposedly the workers and the people in the organization. So I think he gave a holistic theory. That's why I think Herbert Simon is my favorite.
In the same decade, we have this, say, two people, that is Robert Nozick. Have you heard the name of the Nozick?
No, sir. Sorry, sir.
Or Hayek earlier?
No, sir. Sorry.
These are also connected with this particular type of administration.
Okay, sir. So
you don't have any clue?
No, sir. I have not heard.
So then let's talk about this idea called as a neutrality.
Yes, sir.
So in Indian scenario, do you think really that principle of neutrality is still relevant?
So principle of neutrality will be relevant. It is relevant today. It will be relevant tomorrow. Because sir, neutrality is one of the basic tenets of administration, or an administrator has to follow neutrality. But being human being driven by emotions, it's not always practically possible to follow neutrality, but definitely it's a path that we need to strive to go towards, I think. So principle of neutrality, definitely sir, it will be relevant.
Some people also suggest that if you need a efficient and better bureaucracy, then incentivize them. So do you think that incentive really is a solution to enhance the scope, efficiency of a bureaucracy, Indian bureaucracy specifically?
So these things have been experimented in countries like Singapore, sir. So they had increased the salary or the income of the administrators, and that has really helped them bring in efficiency in the administration, sir. Somewhere we do feel that incentivizing definitely will bring in efficiency in the administration, but that is not the only thing that we need to focus on, sir. With efficiency, we need to put in place checks and balances, wherein we can monitor the working of the administration or the administrators, sir. So the 7th Pay Commission and all the commissions that we have put in place are a step forward, and I think definitely we are doing more to incentivize the administration, and there are positive effects of it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Have you heard the name of this Yugandhar Committee? Yugandhar Committee is related to administrative reforms.
Yes, sir, but I am not aware much about it.
Gupta Committee was 1977. Gupta Committee was there.
No, sir. Sorry, sir.
So, what is your imagination of ideal bureaucrat? Ideal Indian civil servant? Your imagination?
So, the quality-wise or?
Quality-wise.
Okay, sir. So, I think ideal bureaucrat should be one who has compassion for people, who is dedicated to his work, and who definitely follows neutrality to the extent that it should be followed, or as much as possible. And I think impersonal and faceless administration is, I think, the ideal bureaucracy.
And who is your in person or personality wise ideal, that this fellow or this person is my ideal as a bureaucrat?
So as a bureaucrat, I think Vinod Rai, sir, Mr. Vinod Rai has done really
have you gone through his writing, not just an accountant?
Sir, as a CAG, whatever work he did, I have followed that work, but I don't know much about Vinod Rai, sir.
His famous autobiographical writing.
No, sir, I have not read his.
Where he was posted first?
So I am not aware. Sorry, sir.
So what are the major, say CAG is always, let's talk about the CAG. CAG is always, it's always says that CAG is not CAG, it's AG. So where is control? Audit is fine.
Yes, sir.
And what we should do with the private sector. So how you analyze the position of CAG in Indian Constitution? Article 148 to 158 which always talks about various things related to CAG.
Yes, sir. So, sir, Paul Appleby report had also criticized CAG because he had said that the secretaries of the department know more than the CAG, and in India we follow post audit, like we do not do the comptroller role as such is not there. So I think, sir, but whatever work the CAG has done, it has been impeccable since its inception, sir. So I think CAG has never been there have never been any, like it has never been blamed for wrongdoings, or there are never such claims on CAG, sir. CAG has been one institution which people really trust, and I think CAG has done a good job in.
And what is its correlation with Public Accounts Committee?
So CAG is the friend, advisor and the philosopher of the Public Accounts Committee, and the reports given by CAG are scrutinized by the Public Accounts Committee, sir. So that is how CAG and Public Accounts Committee are related, sir.
How many members from Lok Sabha are there in Public Accounts Committee, and how many members from Rajya Sabha?
So 15 members are from Lok Sabha and 7 members are from Rajya Sabha, sir.
But Public Accounts Committee was established in which year?
So it was established under 1919 Act in 1921, sir.
Absolutely.
Yes.
What are your hobbies?
So my hobbies are watching stand-up comedy and traveling, sir.
Traveling.
Yes, sir.
So what is more important? Destination is more important or traveling is more important?
So both the things are equally important, sir, because while going to the destination also there are many things that you get to explore, and the destination also definitely is important because then you will explore the culture and the people and their cuisine or their clothes, and you will get to know many things about their culture, sir.
Let's add one third element in that discussion. One may say no, travel is not important, destination is not, company is important.
Okay.
So how you going to understand this company? Company really matters, or no? Ultimately, you are the sole individual that ultimately is traveling. Company won't matter. How you look towards this one?
So it depends from person to person. There are people who like traveling solo. So they would not appreciate anybody's company, sir, because they would want their space or their calmness, or they would want to explore it on their own. But there are some people who would want to be a part of the group or go around with friends and then explore the place. So company can have its own benefits. There could be people who know more about the place, or there could be people who have explored the place before or have knowledge about it, and they could share their knowledge with you, and that could be enriching for a person, sir.
Absolutely.
So both the things have their own advantages.
Absolutely. And which are that means you after a long time, that may be my favorite place now. When I look that I traveled so many places, which is your favorite place? Or places?
Ladakh is one of my favorite places, sir, because it is a cold desert. This is something which is very unique, which I found, that there is desert and there is snow and there is still some greenery around. So I think, sir, Ladakh has been one of my favorite places till now, sir. From wherever I have travelled, Ladakh has.
Ladakh is recently were translated this into Union territory.
Yes, sir.
Do you think that was a correct move?
So, I think it was long due that we had to do this. The Article 370 was a temporary provision, and somewhere we had to integrate Ladakh and Jammu Kashmir into the country. But sir, the Union Territory part is still debatable, and I think it's sub judice, so we'll definitely get to know more about it after the Supreme Court judgment, sir.
Let's talk about Union Territory. Why Union Territory? You have Union Territory. Why we need Union Territory? Let's abolish all Union Territories.
Okay, sir. So, union territories were established due to four reasons. One was administrative convenience, second was strategic importance, third was their cultural importance, and so fourth was alienation, I think. Strategic importance was Andaman and Nicobar and Lakshadweep because of their locations in the Indian Ocean. Then cultural were the northeastern states, which then on became states. And sir, Delhi is also a strategically important place because it's the capital of our country. So I think these were the reasons why we established union territories, so that the center can control them in emergency situations or any strategic situation.
Recently, center has initiated certain reforms in, say, capacity of the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi.
Yes, sir.
So, what is your understanding of this whole transition initiated by center?
Yes, sir. So, sir, center is in its rights to do the changes that it has done, because it was the center's decision to give autonomy to Delhi, and it had given elected government to Delhi before by the 69th Constitutional Amendment Act, sir. So I think it's well within its rights to change the provision. It has just changed the definition of the government, which is now Lieutenant Governor of Delhi, sir. So I think the government is well within its rights to change the provisions.
What are the clauses, or how many clauses are there in 239 AA? And
Yes,
how
sir.
many clauses?
Sorry, sir, I'm not aware.
So 239 largely deals with what?
So it deals with Delhi and its administration, sir. So there is a provision for the number of elected legislative assembly members, and also the number of ministers which can be appointed in Delhi, sir, which is restricted to 10% and which is 15% in the other states, sir.
Recently, some international agency published this gender index, gender gap index.
Yes, sir.
So, with that index or without that index, how you are going to describe a gender situation in India?
So, a gender situation has been grim in India, but we have made a lot of progress since 1950s, sir. Today, we are a country with the 14% of women legislators in Lok Sabha, sir. So, I think the gender gap is there. We can do more about it, and we can take some more steps to reduce the gender gap. Especially because of COVID, the gender gap is definitely going to increase, and we need to take measures to reduce that gap. But our country has done a lot of positive things in the past, sir, I think.
Absolutely. What is your solution to say this? Recently, this argument is that we will achieve this V-shaped recovery.
Yes.
But presently, some people have analyzed, no, this is not V-shape, this is technically K-shape. Then if it's a K-shape, then it's a huge unemployment, then it's problem. How pandemic has affected our capacity to get employment? And what is our solution as a state, which, say, for example, from your home state, what we can learn?
Okay, sir. So, it has been said that we have been achieving the V-shaped recovery. From -23%, we have come up to -7%, which is a positive sign. Also, the IMF has increased our GDP projections to 12.5%. Previously, it was 11.5%, sir, which is a positive thing. The international community also looks at India as an ideal case, because we handled the pandemic fairly in a positive manner, sir. And the other countries like US and major countries and superpowers like US are still struggling, sir. So I think unemployment is an issue, but there have been steps which are taken by the government. Atmanirbhar Bharat 1.0, Atmanirbhar Bharat 2.0, Atmanirbhar Bharat 3.0. So the three Atmanirbhar Bharat schemes have been very beneficial to increasing the employment, sir. And also the government has increased the allocations given to the Manrega, sir, which is also a positive sign because of the migrant crisis. The Manrega scheme has been strengthened, and allocation is also increased to the scheme, so I think this is a positive sign.
Suppose you have to choose between, say, honest and efficiency.
Yes, sir.
Then what is your choice?
So I would choose honest. So I would choose honesty over efficiency, sir.
Suppose you have to choose, you have a choice that you may be DM or you may be CM. What you will choose?
So I would choose DM.
Why DM?
So because as a DM I can work for a longer time, but as a CM I would just get 5 years to work. So I think I would choose to be a DM, sir.
Suppose you have to choose Russia or China.
Yes, sir.
Then?
So I would choose Russia over China, sir.
Why Russia?
So we have been friends with Russia since a long time, and Russia was an ally, and Russia has helped us in times when we needed the help, especially during the 1971 war, sir. So I would choose Russia over China, sir.
And as a DM, where you want to work? Which state or which district?
So I would like to work in my home state, and I would like to work in Western Maharashtra, sir, or maybe Marathwada, sir. These are my two choices because Marathwada is still
any particular district in Marathwada or Western Maharashtra?
So Aurangabad would be district.
Aurangabad.
Yes, sir.
What was the contribution of Aurangzeb in the development of Deccan?
So Aurangzeb has played a very important role in the development of Deccan, sir. When he came to Deccan and he captured Deccan, so after that he looked after the administration, or he set up a very good administration in Deccan, sir, and because of Aurangzeb we have a lot of positive things in Aurangabad as well, sir. So it's renowned because of Aurangzeb, sir.
Absolutely. One last question.
Yes, sir.
Suppose you have to ask any one question to this panel members. So what would be that question?
So one question.
Yeah, one question.
So how is your day going so far, sir?
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.